Good morning, good afternoon, good night. It depends your time and your location. You're joining us today at Eastern News 24. I see the by in Konya Chile. Yazelo. Diko CD. I cheme kono manani yabu Eastern News 24. Beba si wene uteru yabu ozi do kempa. Unanu ko si ada na akpọtụ n'obodo anyị nọ n'ime ya. And oge gara aga anyị tinyekwuru yabu update gbasara maka the plans of FG, the federal government of Nigeria, to extradite Mazi Simon Ekpa back to Nigeria. No bossing keta. I will take ya bu update pụrụ iche gbasara maka ICC International Criminal Court. Ihe ha gwalụ federal government maka Mazi Simon Ekpa extradition from Finland to back to Nigeria. Genen tekunu ya bu news update. Basta maka ya bi face we ga obere fine na adu no maka baro ke to say bozi kumu na mana ife na me no obodo I ga si drop ora ife che no dinke gi. All right, over to you, sir.
National and international criminal courts to take swift action against the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra IPOB and its leader Simon Ekpa for crimes against civilians in the southeast. In a statement by spokesman Major General Onyema Nwachukwu, the army condemned the brutal torture of ex-soldier Corporal Toriala Diwali, seen in a viral video circulated by IPOB. The army demanded that the international community condemn these inhuman acts in the strongest terms and hold IPOB accountable for their cruelty. Oh well, we do have with us in the studio Shegun Shokwito, Chairman, Accountability, Candor and Transparency Network. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
And right beside him, Aki Fatunke, Communication Consultant. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Moses. Good morning, crew, and good morning, Nigerians.
All right then.
Good morning.
Well, the Nigerian Army is calling for assistance. Should this be on social media, or we've been trying to wrap our head around why Simon Ekpa has not been brought back to Nigeria to answer for the incitement that he has made over the years. And the question around Nigeria's relationship with Finland has come up quite a number of times. Let me come to you now, Mr. Fafatunke. What do you make of this statement, really? Is this delay tactics in the Nigerian army carrying out its duties and the Nigerian government in general?
Well, how do they say it? Too little, too late sometimes. But being late does not necessarily mean that whatever it is that is done against any human, whatever form, whether it is one now, Toriola DNA, that we are looking at, or when you wipe the mirror on the other side, the near program place, but it's not a program, tactics that I know the military also have used in that part of the country. I'm talking about Southeast. Neither makes it right or wrong. And I also know that Finland has been contacted, allegedly, and I believe the government, when they say they've contacted Finland, by way of finding a way around, extraditing.
Okay, it's extraditing Simon Ekpa.
Simon Ekpa, finding a way around that. I was on a roundtable discussion sometime when it was clearly stated by those people who know a bit more than me in diplomatic relations that it's not just something you could just snap your finger and get on, especially if those personalities are allegedly they've gone out there because of persecution, just like Nnamdi Kanu. So having said all that, do I think that the statement by the Nigerian army is neat and proper? Yes, I think. a civilian has been tortured. It should not happen. 24 wrongs will not make one to be right. And I know that my very good friends have a load of them from the southeast will not want to, broach a situation where people will take laws into their hands. Yeah. But you see, what I'm going to try to do now is now to say, look, at the end of the day, this will continue unless we go to root causes, and root causes can continue to go to grandfather, son, in terms of you trying to find, can we look for a political solution? And I have always said it. I think that big hurdle, I've always pleaded, and people say that I don't need to plead, but I have always pleaded that Nnamdi Kanu is not only going to be released, it's only the timing that we should be looking out for. I think he will be released. Right. I pray he will be released, and timely enough that we can have some semblance of detente in the southeast. Mr.
Shogun, there are some quotas of the opinion that the letter from the Nigerian army to international bodies is more like a way to stop Simon Haba from going on with the November 29th conference or convention which he organizes in Finland. Remember, he made mention of 15 million people voting in the referendum for Biafra or for IPOB. Do you also share that line of thought?
I don't necessarily think so. I think that the Simon Ekpa issue is a long-standing one, and I'm not sure that the call from the Nigerian army is necessarily targeted at a particular event that is coming up. I think it's probably more than, in my opinion, I think they're even playing to the gallery to an extent. I haven't particularly taken their call seriously, for one simple reason. The Nigerian army is notorious with its human rights records, in those theaters where they have been in operations trying to combat whatever forces, they might feel that they are legitimately combating. Legitimately so. But in the process of defending the territorial integrity of your country, there are rules and conventions all over the world with regards to how you treat even enemy combatants. And the Nigerian army has not been particularly, they've not painted themselves in glory.
So you think that their notoriety in how they carry out their operations is going to, deter the international organization from listening to their calls or their...
Yeah, I think that their call will be taken with a pinch of salt. It almost seems as like a bit of sarcasm to me. Everybody, so to put it in common parlance, hey, every time you people are carrying us to ICC and carrying us to Amnesty International, now we too want to go to ICC and Amnesty International. It looks that way to me, because in my view, yes, the way the gentleman was treated was absolutely abominable and must be condemned. I think that the Nigerian army are well equipped to go in and retrieve him and do whatever they need to do while staying within the ambits of the law. So they don't have too much of my sympathy to be.
But we're having a double role in this story. The Nigerian army of the opinion that this man served, that the man is still in service. Now, is it that the Nigerian army don't really know the man's status?
No.
Are we having a discrepancy now to mean idea?
We have to go with the official statement from the Nigerian army. Nobody will know who works for the Nigerian army more than the Nigerian army themselves. So,
something happened in the television some months ago where a man, killed a woman, allegedly, though the Nigerian army were they are looking into that. It happened there in 82 Division. Nigerian army of the opinion that the man who did that, it's not, or was not recruited from the Joint Task Force. And they said he's not a repentant Boko Haram member. Whereas we have other information out there on the social media platform showing that this man was recruited from the Joint Task Force as a repentant Boko Haram member. So do you also think that we're seeing a clear notion of all the stories happening?
Well, it's. I guess we would have to take that as a separate case, and maybe that would call to question the integrity of the information that comes out of the Nigerian. How do we know? We've seen in the past that, again, they've not necessarily painted themselves in glory when it comes to even disseminating factual information about things that are going on. I remember the very unfortunate incident in 2020 where we all saw live videos. I saw live transmission, Instagram live feed, where bullets were being removed from people's legs, and then the Nigerian Army came out in an official statement and said it was what they call it, doctored or something like that. That was a bit ridiculous. So they have a checkered history, and for me, it's the reason I'm a bit unsympathetic towards whatever they're saying now. I think the guy that is being maltreated by IPOB, if that is the case, should be rescued, and they should deal with them with the full force of the law and the might that they have, the might of the state, and that's not about that. Why are they going to the SEC?
Okay.
I don't understand that at all.
Thanks very much. Let me stay with you on this issue. You next said something about this case not being isolated. I think it has a broader perspective.
Absolutely.
So in the sense that it should have a broader perspective, do you think that it's some kind of selective justice on the part of the Nigerian Army, to take the case of IPOB to the ICC and Amnesty International, the same Amnesty International that has several times called out the Nigerian Army against inhuman treatments to civilians? And again, for the fact that the Nigerian Army have not been able to take this same case of Boko Haram bandits and terrorists to the ICC. You recall what happened when Jonathan tried headlong, to decimate the terrorists, and it was like, oh, we are going to ICC because he had the recreative for family staff. You people are killing my people and all of that. So, do you think it amounts to selective justice on the part of the Nigerian Army to do one thing in this case and do another in another case in the same jurisdiction?
Absolutely. I think that's part of the reason that I'm skeptical towards this, because it's one. Look, that's one single individual. One individual that is maltreated by any unlawful means or whatever is too much. You don't have to get to 2 or 3. So we have to condemn that. But my goodness, the kidnappings that are happening every day in this country, people taking ransom and they're still killing the victims. Where was the Nigerian Army and where was the petition to the ICC? When all of these things were happening. For me, it's ridiculous. I think that sometimes these government officials really do need a bit of reorientation. They have to take citizens a bit more seriously than they do.
Does it speak to the complicity or lack of intentionality on the part of the government in fighting insecurity? Do you think should we think in that direction?
Well, look, that's a bigger problem. That's a big problem that we are grappling with, and we need answers to. Why are the bandits? Why do they seem so powerful? Why does the problem seem so intractable? Why are we still talking about Boko Haram after almost 20 years? Why do we still have even the IPOB/ESN problem in the Southeast? Why does it appear as though the Nigerian state is unable to address these problems? It's a big problem, so that's the larger question that I think the Nigerians should be focusing their energies on, rather than writing letters to the ICC and all of that.
Well, let me come to you now, Mr. Fatuke. Crocodile Tears was held some years back, and there was outcry that civilians were tortured. These people were beaten into gutters. Nigerians complained. Well, nothing particularly was done in that regard. And here we are, the Nigerian Army. This is not to color or to, give credence to the activities of IPOB, but this is looking at, in comparison with the actions of the Nigerian Army themselves, the Nigerian military in general. They have clamped down on individuals. They have terrorized. Well, I use that word loosely. They have dealt with civilians in ways that, in fact, let's move away from the Southeast in particular now. Okwama, not too long ago, something was done to soldiers in that area, and became hard on the people, drove women and children into the creeks. What do you make of this call? Are they justified, really?
I'm happy you are bringing it back to base, talking about the cost. And Shegun here, and not him alone, the whole world, including yours sincerely, have vehemently chastised the military, whether done deliberately, that done, as self-defense. But I come back to where I started from, that two wrongs cannot make a right. Okay, the Nigerian military is pretending they are now trying to strike a snail with a sledgehammer. Yeah, I mean, it could be a way, but look, if you go back into history, you may find out that some of this innocuous, almost what you will say is immaterial when you try to compare and contrast, has led to world wars. It took the assassination of one man in Zambia, Archbishop Ferdinand, and then we had all the world wars. There are certain things that has connotation, and as much as I don't want to open in a way that is untoward, I will be shirking a responsibility if I sit here and I tell you that even for that one man, be careful. Be careful about the coloration. Adeyemi is a Yoruba man. And before you know what is happening, and if you are not careful, if you do not manage this properly, you know the kind of situation.
But nobody has even mentioned where the person is from on this table, and I don't think that was actually mentioned in the news as well.
It was mentioned.
Well,
and his name is Adeyemi. All I've just tried to so I mean, if you don't know that it's a Yoruba name, it's another thing. But that's not where I'm going. You have to be very careful. There are certain things, if you don't manage them well, they will just dovetail. Now, if you want to put it on balance, and say because the Nigerian army have been doing things wrong and all that, we are condemning that. The Nigerian military has not done a lot of some of the things that they have done. Nobody is going to put that on. But going forward, we need to be extra careful. For the life of me, on patriotic ground, and I say that all the time, I'll be the last that will be deliberately wanting to down my military now on account of things like
the military, of course, are doing a whole lot.
There are many good people who are doing the military, and we should not
let's look at
take them as I mean, if one or two people are doing that,
let's look at this call for Simon Ekpa.
Yes.
Somebody on this table did point to the fact that yes, there is insurgency in other parts of the country. Yeah. In the northern parts of the country, we dealt with Boko Haram, now christened bandits, and a whole lot. Now, names have been given to the Nigerian government. Some of these names reside within the shores of this country, reside within the borders of this country.
Allegedly.
You don't need to write to ICC to get them, to help you get some of these individuals. Why haven't we, in fact, some of these individuals that have continually perpetrated evil to Nigerians are supposedly, in touch with some relevant individuals within government.
Okay.
But we haven't been able to nab them. What exactly is the problem here?
The problem is that we are not governing.
And we are not governing.
Yes, we are not governing. And the latest, I can mention names. Bello Tuje is just the latest. We know. Those financiers have been listed. Not much is being done in that direction. And it goes beyond. You see, the way I look at this as an economist is the fact that yes, it's bad. It's terribly bad. But one little badder will not make any good, if you understand. I am not going to try and balance and say, because certain things have been going wrong, and then we close our eyes to whatever. There is a saying that says, if They are going down. Let's stay up. I will not, for the life of me, condone a lot of the things that is happening in Nigeria generally, terribly bad. But all I am just saying is that I am a bit careful. Let's be a bit much more sensitive. This one individual may just, like you said, may just go off the cuff, but at the same time, it may lead into some other things. We have a governance problem in Nigeria. The Nigerian military, like other agencies, other than military, within the ambit of what they have, they make their mistakes, they make their errors, but at the same time, they face bullets. A lot of them are very good men and women.
Of course. We cannot take that away. Talking about the military facing bullets, protecting us
When we are sleeping.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a tough job. It's a tough job, and we commend them for it. We commend the men of the military for going out there sleepless nights in the rain, protecting Nigerians. Over the weekend, there was a confrontation between the military and a bandit leader, and there was victory. Nigerians were victorious, and there was commendation as well to the military. Talking about that commendation, I read up on a few things there. That military leader, I think his name is Halilu, if I'm not mistaken. There was a bounty on his head. Now, part of we were not told if it was part of the bounty that was shared amongst the soldiers that carried out that operation. But 1 million naira was given to them. There were quite a number of them. And in sharing it amongst themselves, each person got about 38,400, thereabout. The question on my mind is, in as much as that is some sort of appreciation, if you compare that to what these bandits, Boko Haram, insurgents take, is that motivation enough to the military? That's on one side. Secondly, should soldiers be given part of bounty? I would have thought that medals should be given, and when medals are given, it may translate to increment in salary, promotion, increment in salary, which will be a lot more encouraging for them, as against less than 40,000 naira, which of course they would spend frivolously, if you ask me.
Well, I didn't hear about this, and I can admit that, and it comes as a shock to me to hear that something like that would happen. Our military, look, we cannot understate the nature of the sacrifice that anybody in uniform defending and protecting citizens of the country are making. They are putting their lives on the line every day. Sometimes I look at some of these young men and I think to myself, this guy has signed up for potential death at any point in time. That's the ultimate sacrifice. What more can you lay down, than your life to show that you are dedicated to your country, and all of that. And I think that to belittle that effort to the point where you're sharing bounty, and even if you shared 1 million naira to each of these guys, in my opinion, it can never take the place of what they're doing. What needs to happen, obviously, is that their emoluments, their life insurance, the welfare of their families in the event that they die in combat, what happens to the people they leave behind, what's happening to them. We've seen horrific videos of combatants and Nigerian military people pushing trucks, if going to look for water in the bush as a part of the fight against Boko Haram, so those are the kind of things that need to be dealt with rather than sharing bounty of 1 million naira.
I think that the 1 million naira being given to the soldiers is more like a way to help or to keep them from leaving, because that Nigerian soldiers are living in Nigeria in drones to go and join other,
Yes, but
other countries. Now, do you think this will actually help them to stay?
38,000 naira will make a man stay back to face bullets, or, for his country. It's ridiculous. I think that if that actually happened, and if the military high command confirmed it, they owe Nigerians an apology. This is, I find it completely unbelievable. Look, the battle against this insecurity, whether it's Boko Haram, bandits, ESN, whatever you want to call it, whatever the name is not being handled properly. And there are things that we hear as people that have connections in those places that worry you, that point to the fact that we can do far better if the people in command and in high places are determined to do better for the country. From the look of things, we're just not doing enough.
Do you think, from the look of things, you just made mention of their welfare, you also made mention of their money and how their family have been treated. Do you now think that they'll be motivated enough to put in more effort in help to fight insecurity or insurgency in Nigeria?
I mean, look, for people that are underpaid, undertrained, under-equipped, to a certain degree, whatever they see, they will take. And it would help boost some sort of morale at some level. But what I'm saying is that that's nowhere near enough. We know better. Even if the combatant soldiers themselves rejoice and show some sort of happiness at receiving that paltry, insulting amount, we know better. We know it shouldn't be that way.
Let's take it back to the Southeast. As somebody who is well versed in this issue, because you come out like somebody who is you understand the nitty-gritty of it. If you were in a position to advise the federal government, what would you ask them to do to curb insecurity in the Southeast?
Look, the insecurity in the Northeast, Northwest, North Central is I want us to unlock it. I'm going somewhere. It's not different from what's happening in the Southeast. There is somebody behind this. This person is not a ghost. These people are not ghosts. They have names. Where is the work of our intelligence network to identify who these people are? In fact, in the case of the Southeast, Simon Ekpa is taking responsibility. He's speaking with boldness and even issuing commands from Finland. What is the Nigerian state doing to deal with the problem at its roots, or at the top, if you like? This guy has spoken out repeatedly. He even calls himself as Prime Minister. And he is inciting violence in Nigeria. We know he is in Finland. So if I have heard things, what
do you think is at the root of the crisis in the Southeast?
No, look, this is well documented and well known. This is all as a result of the agitation and the feeling of marginalization, self-determination. These issues are not strange to us as Nigerians. We all know the history. If you want to trace it all the way back to before the Civil War and all of that, these things are clear. Regardless of those issues, the insecurity that we are now facing in the Southeast should be dealt with. Who is behind it? And we have two people who have been identified. The Kano is one, Simon Ekpa is one. The Kano is it possible to deal with these elements without addressing the underlying fact? No, of course you can. But you have to separate the two. Look, if somebody is boldly coming on air, social media, and issuing commands and claiming responsibility for insecurity,
but IPOB have distanced themselves from the insecurity happening in the Southeast, and that is what gave birth to unknown gunmen. Before now there's some people are opinion that IPOBs are the ones perpetuating the whole evil in the Southeast, but it came up, Imapa happened to be the spokesperson, come up to say, we don't have anything to do with this. Even the sit-at-home orders and Mondays and all that, they distance themselves from that. So, and you know, she's saying they are the ones carrying out this now. You know that a family or a house that is divided cannot stand. So why would you now say the IPOBs are fighting for their rights and talking about how they've been marginalized? Will not be the one supporting the peace.
Yes, to me, that's all laughable. Even the name unknown gunmen, I've always had problems with that appellation. Because when a certain group of people went into the North Central and started killing people and started even advancing into the Southwest, they were given a name. They were given a name that even had a tribal connotation. Fulani headsmen. Why are the people that are perpetrating whatever is going on in the South is called unknown gunmen? How can they be unknown? To who? Is it to the, are they unknown to the Nigerian state or unknown to you and I?
Yeah, no
problem. So let's not mix the issues up. What I'm saying is that if you do that, you conflate the issues and we confuse ourselves. For me, IPOB has an arm that is armed called ESN. Simon Ekpa has repeatedly stated publicly that he is the one in high command. We know it may not be true. What has the Nigerian state done to apprehend that guy? What have we done with the Finland authorities? For example, we say we don't have treaties with them, Abi. Why can't we, even without the treaty, what has the Nigerian state done to try and apprehend this guy and bring him on? Because if you do things like that, then you can begin to link the issue at the board and deal with it in the southeast. All right, let's take a video. We have a video of Toriola making a statement. Let's take this video and then we'll proceed with the questions and answers here.
What is your name? My name is 06 ending of the 59 of the 5412 Corporal Toriola Adewale from Nigeria 16th Brigade. I'm serving with 16th Brigade Nigeria until I travel to this Okego, which I entered the Biafra Liberation Army. And as they held me since almost 2 or 3 days now, they made sure that they didn't do any evil. They tell me that they are fighting for the liberation of the Biafra. That everything about me they want to know, and that's why I'm explaining. And they don't give me any evil since I come. They take care of me as I beg them to forgive me and pardon me for second chance in life. So they say they have heard me, that they are not to harm me or they are not wicked people. All what they want is to
something about his identity or who he works for. He is under duress, and you said it.
He made mention of why he's serving. He also called his own code and his own number.
Mr. Akifa, I'll come to you. Let me just finish with Shehu. I want us to make sense of the fact that if you check out these two individuals who are possibly causing the, according to you, causing the insecurity in the southeast, Nnamdi Kanu and Simon Ekpa, do you think their disciples will not replace them? Short of taking out the root cause of the insecurity. Yeah, that is my concern. I agree with you. Because if you take, like, when Nnamdi Kanu was there, Simon Ekpa was more like at the back door. Exactly. He wasn't calling the shots until Nnamdi was taken out of the scene. Now we see somebody who has more drive, who is probably more aggressive than Nnamdi Kanu. And you say, if we take him out, has he solved the problem in the south? That is what I want us necessarily to work around.
I agree with you. I think that, first of all, just like Mr. Fatuke said earlier, I think Nnamdi Kanu is close to being, I think he will be released, because for me, in my opinion, the rhetoric has been toned down significantly. Nnamdi Kanu will be an asset to the Nigerian state if they handle him well in dealing with the insecurity in this. So it partially speaks to what we are trying to talk about. If Nnamdi Kanu is harnessed as an asset of the Nigerian state, this thing will disappear. If they release him and there is some sort of understanding between himself and the people that are involved, this issue will disappear. Simon Ekpa is a different phenomenon. The guy is out there claiming responsibility for violence, and he must be apprehended by the Nigerian state and brought to book. Then, you see, the other issue you are talking about, the underlying agitations. How do you want to deal with this? I have said repeatedly, there are deep-rooted, deep-seated feelings of agitation, of injustice. You listen to the average Igbo person, even those that are completely against the activities of IPOB in whatever coloration, and you see that there is something there is pain. The Nigerian state must deal with that pain, and the only way to do that, in my opinion, is to unpack the issues and let's have a conversation about it. I keep saying this, the same way that Buhari gave June 12, made it a public holiday and apologized. The Nigerian state apologized to the Abiola family. That did a whole lot in calming fragrance in certain quarters. I think if something similar is done with the issue of the agitation, the war, the civil war and all that, we will begin to make progress. But the current issues, we do need to deal with the leadership, whoever is claiming responsibility, we dealt with. Otherwise, you will be papering over the cracks. But to deal with the underlying issue is to take time and to take courage. And to be honest with you, I'm not holding up any hopes that whether this administration or anyone soon will be able to confront that issue with honesty and deal with it. So, but with time, I hope that we'll get there.
Mr. Akin, do you share same opinion on this issue, or do you have a diverse opinion?
As a historian, I tell you don't know where things will stop. And you're saying marginalization. Is there a part of Nigeria that is not marginalized? Except if we're in the presidency, a turn-by-turn kind of situation. Are you saying, I know you won't allow me to please be fair. I'm not Nigeria. I'm not partisan.
Mr. K, you don't have to be politically correct. You have to look at the point I'm making to you. Because when you talk about marginalization in the presidency, Southeast will claim marginalized. Clearly, and it said the
Southeast claims marginalization. Then go back to 1960.
Not about the presidency. Not about
go back to 1960.
No, but what to the level of presidency? I think when you talk about presidency, is clearly marginalized. No, you said something that is not correct. Anyhow, you look at it.
Okay, so I should. Okay, go ahead.
No, you talk. But you can go ahead.
I want to talk. I am saying to you, go back to 1966 and see whether the Nigerian nation has healed from what obviously started from the southeast. So, please, we should not go start from the south. If you claim to be a historian, you should know that it started from the west.
Exactly, it didn't start from the southeast.
It didn't start from the southeast. And if you want to talk about the January 15 coup, it was not we had a preponderance of officers from the southeast. We had outside and Yoruba involved in that same coup. It's out there in the open.
And so many people excuse me. So many people were killed. So many Igbos were killed. People in the southeast. No, I am not interested in your slants. I am just making the point. Either you take it or you don't take it. There are other parts of Nigeria that are also feeling marginalized as we speak now. And then people have not spoken out. Southeast is clearly speaking out. No, they've spoken out. Go to Northeast. Then that means you are not listening. You are not prepared to listen. Now, but you asked a very genuine question. What? You asked him, I want to provide an answer.
Yes.
What is the root cause for what we have? We are different. We don't see Nigeria as an entity that we all can be patriotic into. We are different tribes, we are different tongues. And the only way to get equity and justice is to raise our hand and say, this contraption cannot continue.
In a nutshell, you're saying that those that want to go should be allowed to go. Is that what you're saying, Mr. King?
No.
Because you said you have different ethnic groups in one country, and the country is not really what it should be.
Except that if you want to go,
are you of the opinion that
I do not have any problem with you going. It's the manner that you choose to go to go. There are legitimate ways to go to go. I don't have any problems with the Biafra saying that they want the Biafra state. Why do you want a referendum? Come back. Tell us. And then do a referendum when the state doesn't allow the referendum. Now, she asked the question and I'm answering the question.
Mr. King, that's a wrong answer.
My point, no, it's not your place to say I've given a wrong answer.
No, you can't say something.
I don't say
doesn't allow the referendum.
Okay.
It's clearly a wrong answer.
Is the Southwest not asking that they want to go? You didn't hear that?
So did you ask them to go and conduct a referendum?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
How is that to conduct a referendum is a solution?
No.
Because what you then need to say, and I'm sure he will get there, is that
you are not allowed.
because we can
I think the way I see this,
You can't conduct a referendum until the state says we can conduct a referendum.
But now, let's bring it
from me.
Mr. Akin.
Recognize the fact that you are different from me. When you don't recognize that you are different from me, that there will always be the way it's now, then there will always be problem. This happened in 1960 or about 1963 between Nnamdi Azikiwe and Ahmadu Bello.
All right.
We are saying we are not uniform in all ways. And our politics has just been, well, it's going to be my turn, so I take it there. Okay, a particular part of the country will decide that, okay, this is going to be president, that's not going to be president, and all that, and going to be turn by turn. We don't get development. So the point I am making is equity, justice, fair play. I also slant to the Southeast, for instance. If you look at it, how many states do you have in the Southeast, even though you are landlocked? If you go to the landlocked, we are not landlocked. We are absolutely out of time. Southeast is not landlocked. This will be a good place to anchor this conversation. Southeast is good.
Ende ba ngwadalo li nenu kunu si wene sere ni ye ni me ni do ko na Eastern News 24 obana nka bobo sis gine sere ka baru ka like, subscribe and turn on the notification ebe ese bell betu ya aka maka gini kila pine misene for update dika ina etia ni iru akwụkwọ maka ọ bụ ihe gbasata ụmụnne anyị ka anyị na-ekwu maka ya anụrụ onwe nke ndị Igbo ana gbasata maka ebe ife na-ada na-akpọtụ n'obodo anyị nọ n'ime ya gwa ya okwu ife iche n'ụdị nke gị gbasata maka ihe ndị a niile nụgasị n'iru akwụkwọ n'ụbọchị uhuruchi nke taa ka ife iche n'ụdị nke gị gwa ya okwu. Drop all your comment and comment below. Thank you for joining us today once again at Eastern News 24. Ka emesịa nụ ndị be anyị.